Tom Hudson, you've been officially appointed as head coach for the 24-25 season. Talk to me about your journey to the role and how you've ended up in the hot seat at Leicester Tigers.
Well, it's one predominantly dominated by Leicester Tigers roles. This will be my third tier at Leicester Tigers. Playing-wise, dominated by Gloucester Rugby, got a lot of my experience through playing for Gloucester. My introduction to women's rugby actually came through Cheltenham Tigers, a very successful women's championship team, and that's where I kind of found my passion for women's rugby. But also complemented by, I was in the academy here at Leicester a long time ago now, and then post my retirement spent a few years out in Kuala Lumpur with the overseas programme.
You've spent the summer transitioning from senior coach to head coach. How has that step up been so far?
It's been a baptism of fire. Like you'd prefer, when you're new to the job, you'd prefer it to be the other way around, but this job's pretty front loaded. There's a lot to do early on. I experienced that last year as the senior coach that I was, all the on-field stuff needed organising. This year is obviously the on and off-field stuff. However, like the more and more I do behind the scenes, the more excited I am about like creating this programme and moving forward with it. The more I see behind the scenes, I see how geared up we are to be a successful programme. The really exciting part that I suppose I'm most excited about is the fact that we've moved over to the performance sector. So under Wilksy and Wadey, who was really steering us in the right direction, we are moving towards the men's section of the performance programme. And they have helped me significantly with setting this up in the right direction and eventually being a really successful, dominant programme.
So you touched on Wilksy and Wadey. Can you just explain who they are and what they do at the club?
I can, yeah. Richard Wilkes is our general manager. And James Wade just supports him with a lot of the recruitment stuff. Wadey has kind of been my liaison officer, if you like, through Wilksy. Incredible amount of experience in men's rugby, setting up these teams and these programmes. The on-field stuff isn't too difficult for me. Obviously, that's what I've grown up with. The off-field stuff is a real challenge. Challenge because not only are we a new programme, not only have we moved over, so we're new in terms of the performance sector, but also we're part of a new league and a new culture anyway. So everything's brand new, which offers opportunities and challenges. The challenges are obvious. The opportunities are that we can create our own brand, our own programme, our entity around that. So it's pretty exciting.
So you, as you touched on, you started as a professional player before moving into the coaching side, working with Cheltenham Tigers women, as you touched on. How would you explain the key differences between the men's and women's game? And for those who might be watching who have never watched a game of women's rugby, how do you think the game itself differs to the men's?
Oh, wow. It's a difficult question to answer in such a short space of time. I would say there's two sides. There's mitigating risk, or managing risk, and there's fundamental skills. There's a lot of low-hanging fruit when it comes to fundamental skills in the women's game. There is so much coachable stuff that you can work on. And that's just being a newer sport than the men's side. So we have had a huge amount of gains when it comes to fundamentals. And by fundamentals, I mean like basic catch, carry, passes, I call it, tackle, tear, kicking opportunities. We've really focused hard last year with them being our fundamentals. But I suppose more importantly and more excitingly, like it's the brand of rugby that we can offer as a women's programme. We don't have, as I mentioned at the start, we don't have to mitigate or manage risk too much. We don't have to chase results too much. So we can take 8 times out of 10, we can take the braver option. 8 times out of 10, we can run from deep. We can try the move that we're not sure is going to come off because we don't have to manage that risk. We don't have to go with 80% play. We can try something new and different. And that's not just in women's rugby. That's just something that we as Leicester Tigers women's section also pride ourselves on.
What is your personal coaching philosophy, having worked across several clubs now, and what non-negotiables would you like to see from this team when they step out at Mattioli Woods Walford Road?
Sacrifice is the first word that comes to mind. Like, we still need to sacrifice a lot in order to perform. I remember I was pretty low post-Sale Sharks at home, and I spoke on the radio about like what we've learned that day and what we learned at the end of the season. And first thing is, like, we need to be clear. We need to have clarity. We need to have understanding of where we're going to go. We didn't have that so much last year, and we've got our own excuses for it. You know, we were all brand new to it. We didn't know how to set our own goals or minimum standards. We're far wiser this year, so we've already set challenges for that. A lot of people who are watching will know that we slipped off games and results because of fitness. We're already on the way to fixing that. So just a little spoiler, you know, our girls were set, rather than just go away and think about the first year in the Premiership and have a good time, having drinks on the beach and stuff, they knew they had to come back fitter, faster, stronger. So their strength and their speed targets were set higher than where they ended the year before. That's not a normal thing you can do, but it is absolute commitment to the club and to the fans that we know where to work on, and we're working on them quickly and passionately. And secondly, that is, I mentioned sacrifice. Like, we still need to make huge sacrifices in order to be successful in this game of rugby. So little things around punctuality, mannerisms, manners itself. Like, we are ambassadors of the game, ambassadors in and around the East Midlands area. We take massive pride on that too. Not just what we do on the field, but off the field. And I challenge everyone listening, keep the girls to high standards. When they're at player appearances, when they're doing the rounds at Matthew Woodswell Road, like, watch them and make sure that they are ambassadors of this sport.
Well, just touching on that, obviously, as you mentioned, it's Tigers' second season at the top level, but it's also Premiership Women's Rugby's second season as a brand. As one of its 9 teams, do you feel a certain responsibility, both yourself and the players?
Yeah, we do. I mean, our responsibility lies within the club. Like, we have such an incredible amount of history that the club offers us, and we want to, don't get me wrong, form our own history of that, but we can also latch onto that when we need to, and when we want to, and when it's successful for us. So yes, there's a responsibility attached to the brand new PWR, and they're doing a fantastic job around it, but we are desperate to push Leicester Tigers forward as well, and that's a big part of our responsibility.
So on pushing Leicester Tigers forward, you've added several new players to your squad ahead of the 24-25 season. How have they added to the existing squad, and what can fans expect from the newbies? Yeah,
well, without mentioning names yet, we've gone for a certain type of individual, an honest, hard-working one that will sacrifice. I've mentioned that a few times now in the interview. It's really important to us. Someone that's going to play the rugby what we feel like the right way, and that's ball in hand running rugby. We knew that we needed to fix a little bit of set piece as well. We've geared towards a few big signings on that front, but more importantly, we've gone with energetic, high forms of rugby.
Just on the new signings, is there anyone in particular that fans should look out for?
Yeah, there are. There are a few, but to name 2, Jenny Maxwell, Scottish international, scrum half, hopefully will increase our ball speed and a little bit of leadership around that 9 role. And then Emily Heinrich as well, who is a versatile back. And we need a lot of versatility this year because we've streamlined our squad and we're pointing it in the right direction, and we're going to need girls to play plenty of game time in different positions, and she epitomises that.
As you say, the pre-season is well underway. The girls are working incredibly hard. Fixtures have just been announced. What are your expectations for Leicester Tigers in the second season at Premiership Women's Rugby?
Expectations can change all the time, and I think our expectations will be slightly different to what others will be. Like, we're not going to be so much outcome-based, it'll be more process-based. Expectations will literally change as the league goes. So our expectations now in pre-season are geared a lot towards GPS, fitness stats, strength stats, because as I said at the start of the interview, it's a huge work on for us. Then we'll work into the first few games of our Premiership campaign with our internationals. Expectations might then leak into how we gain points. Is there a win on the cards? If not, how do we try and get 4 tries? How do we try to stay within 7? And then when the internationals come back, do the expectations change? Can we go and chase wins? And then we'll see where we are come Christmas time.
What can fans expect who may already have bought a season ticket or are on the fence about it, or haven't even been to a women's game yet? What can the Tigers fans expect when they turn up to a women's game at Matthew Woodswell Road?
It's a simple answer of running rugby. I said, like, we are not going to manage risk within reason. Just to be really clear with that, we're not going to be silly with our game plan, but we are really going to go for it. Our ambition, if you want one standard that's of ours this year, we want to go and score 4 tries every game. And with that, you've got to have ball in hand. We don't have currently the set piece that will do that. We are working on that. So we're going to have to try and find other ways of scoring tries, and that should offer a really vibrant, good style of rugby.
When you talk about scoring tries and playing entertaining rugby, what players come to the forefront of your mind when you talk about getting the fans off their feet?
Well, as I mentioned, there's 2 ways of scoring tries. There's effectively through maul and through set piece. Obviously, Amy Cocaine is one of the best players in the world, if not the best player, at getting that ball into the line out and get the ball going. You can't score more try unless you win the line out. So we're really excited about her. We're really excited about getting her on the field. We didn't see her as much as we did last year. We're hoping to see lots of her this year. And then the other way is that I mentioned the vibrant rugby, that they out wide, and obviously there's no better player in the world, I believe, than Meg Jones at that. And not only does she score her own tries, she just puts other teammates into gaps that score too as well. And then the other side of the coin, we've got KMA, who defensively, I think is just going to bring it to another level when it comes to defensive dominance. And I'm really looking forward to watching her without the ball.